Hi, everyone, and welcome to Adobe Max, and welcome to this first takes from the community session. My name is Chris Hansen, and I'll be your host for today. And joining me from his boat in Melbourne, Australia, is Strategic Development Manager for Video at Adobe, John Barry. Welcome, mate.
Hi, ahoy, all those really bad ship boat jokes. Yes, I am on a boat. It's not a huge boat. I enjoy my boat. Anyway, enough about my boat. What are we talking about?
Oh, you're going to do that the whole session, aren't you, mate? So, look, just for everyone, can you just describe exactly what you do so that, just so people get familiarized with it?
Sure. So as the Strategic Development Manager for ANZ, so that's Australia and New Zealand, I get to work with customers directly, industry as well, and a lot of end users. And so my job really is to become that conduit between what's happening within the region as far as video industry, what's new, what's hot, what are people kind of trying to achieve, and then the product team as well. So I have a very close kind of relationship between being a representative of the users and the businesses in the region and how they use our video tools, and then how we start to improve and kind of follow through on the development cycles of Premiere Pro, After Effects, Media Encoder, Character Animator, and Audition, which are all the video products, and Rush as well. Yep.
Yeah, interesting. So, JB, what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you some questions, and we're going to get some people. So, everyone in the chat, feel free to ask some questions, and we'll definitely throw some at John Barry. But what I want to talk to you about is there's been some really interesting updates in video that have come out this Max. From the Premiere Pro updates with Simplify Sequence, even Remix, even the UI refresh as well. So I'd really like to talk to you about that. But even After Effects and multi-frame rendering, and even with the acquisition of Frame.io. Where do you want to start, mate?
I'll start at let's kind of go in reverse a little bit there. So I'll start with Frame.io. Frame.io is a platform that's been around for quite a few years already. It is cloud-based. It's primarily a collaborative experience where you can host videos and you can get feedback through their platform. So you could be using your phone and you'd be watching a video and then kind of have annotations and things like that. And then that gets fed back through the process, back to the editor. And then it just allows for a really cool, remote, collaborative feedback loop. And they also recently announced a technology where they go from camera to cloud. It's pretty cool. So you could actually be shooting your content in a completely different location and then have that all stream and then be hosted inside the platform, and then access that through Premiere Pro somewhere else and be cutting the content as it's still being captured, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. And to bring it back to the collaboration piece, that would definitely be something of value for editors in a different location. The videos coming through, they don't even have to wait for it to be uploaded in a different way. It's there instantly. That's going to change a lot of workflows. Yeah,
so the ink is still wet. As they say, we've only just announced that the acquisition has just taken place. And so we're still figuring out exactly what's going to happen with them coming into the business and sort of how that then comes back out to our customers. So watch this space. There'll be more news coming later on. But just to continue on there from the multiple things you highlighted, I might start with After Effects and just show some of the real key differences on speed now that After Effects is able to take advantage of multiple frame rendering. So this is a pretty complex looking stack of layers inside this comp, and let's see how many layers there are. So it's got 83 layers, and there's comps in comps, so there's a lot of pre-comps and stuff like that. It's very busy, very busy. Now I've pre-rendered this in the timeline because I wanted to watch it back and see what it does. So let's just have a quick look there.
Love it.
I don't know if any of you are familiar with that chime that happens at the end of rendering inside of Premiere Pro. They had the little chime at the end.
Yes.
There. Cool. So yeah, lots of audio and little things. There's so much going on in this. It's really, really cool demo in that normally takes quite a while to render out. But when you pre-render it, that helps a lot. So over here in my render queue, I've actually got a couple of different ways that I've rendered it out. Now, the multi-frame rendering is turned on by default, but I went and turned it off, and I wanted to see how long it would take to actually render it out with it turned off as well. So when it's turned on, which is the default, that took 16 seconds to export out. I don't know if you can see that right there, but 16 seconds. That's pretty quick. Without it, it was 51 seconds. So that's kind of getting into that's like 4 and a bit times faster.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's still quick, right? But it's a short animation. But let's just multiply that. If you got a 5-minute timeline, you know, I'm terrible with maths, but you know, we'd definitely get to a point where it would definitely speed up your productivity and workflow. We've got a question that's come in.
Oh yeah, hit me.
When are these features available?
Okay, so these features inside of After Effects available now. You can go download it now. This is the 2022 release that we're using, and it's totally available now. So another thing I'm going to do is show you another really cool feature is where it starts to auto render while you're idle. And I went in the preferences and I changed how quick it takes as well. So there's a default time for, I think it's 8 seconds with no activity. Because sometimes you'll be looking around, you'll be like, oh, I kind of want to, you know, making a decision, or I'm clicking just in some of the effect lists and I'm not really doing anything. While that's happening and it's in idle, the system can start to prepare the green rendered bar for you. It does it in a way where it makes it blue though, which means it's actually rendering to disk, not rendering to RAM. But by doing that, it makes it way quicker. So what I'm going to do is clear the cache. So I'm going to clear the pre-rendered bits and pieces. Now it says it's going to take a long time, but it won't take that long. So what happens is around the playhead area, let's see if we can get rid of that. Can I make it quicker? I can't make it.
While that's going, we've had a question come in.
Oh yeah.
Jonathan, thinking of upgrading to a new Mac with M1 for video, do you recommend it? Now, before you answer, JB is a PC user, and I'd like to understand what he feels about that.
Cool. For sure. However, there's some plugins that are not native. So even though you might be running Premiere Pro, which is native to M1, the new Apple Silicon, some plugins are not yet there. And so they might not work when you try to use them. So there's a couple little things where Premiere Pro and After Effects, especially After Effects has taken quite a while to get to the point where the beta version is M1 native. That doesn't mean that every single plugin package that you can get with it, and people tend to be pretty heavy with using plugins for After Effects, they might not work. So yes, it actually runs really, really well when it's in Rosetta 2 as well. So it's each update we're doing, it's getting more and more everything that you would plug in to the whole ecosystem becoming native. So yeah, sure. I don't see a reason why you wouldn't. To be honest, it still runs really, really well, even though it might not be in the native mode, but you can run it in native. Premiere, Audition, Media Encoder, they're all running native. It's just After Effects. It's only just come out with M1 native in the beta, not the current version we're looking at right now, which is the 2022 release that came out yesterday.
Okay, well, interesting. How's that disk cache going?
It's finished. It finished ages ago. So there's two other things I wanted to highlight. So we added now this little guy down here. It's like a little snail, actually. I can't really, there we go, turn it off. So it adds another column here where you get to see a bit more information about per layer, which of these layers are taking up a lot of your per frame render time. So if I scroll down, I can see there's different layers that are taking different amounts of time to get stuff done. So if I park my frame here in the middle, and I can see that the layers that intersect, they're all showing up here as well. and noticed that there was this area here that went green. That just did that automatically while we were waiting, and I wasn't doing anything with the system, just sitting in idle, and it's creating now another green area around the playhead. That's what it does now by default. In the preferences, I think it has an 8-second delay. I changed it to like 2 seconds so that we can start to see how it works. But yeah, once you start getting that pre-rendered, you'll be able to hit play and then watch it back, and it's going to do it much quicker than before. So all about speed. Yes, this is stuff that's in the current release. Now I want to go to Premiere Pro. Have you got any other questions?
Yeah, a couple have come through. I'm going to throw them at you. One from Anthony. What about Windows 11 and Adobe products? Should I upgrade or wait? I need Adobe for my business. Or wait till I need Adobe for my business?
Oh, okay. I haven't installed it yet. I usually sort of dive in a bit early and try to beta test this for you in that way. I haven't heard anything about that being problematic. I would always wait a bit though. Like whenever something's brand new, there's always going to be something that isn't quite maybe right. So just hold off unless you need to, and there's no other reason why. You can't wait a little for 11 to maybe get its first patch, because even 11's probably not quite 100% yet itself. So I would just hold back a little bit and just wait.
Okay, interesting. There's still a couple more questions. I'll ask you one more and then we can get into your screen share. But I really like this question. This is from Paul. If you're just getting into video with becoming a professional in mind, what app would you suggest I start with?
Well, where are you coming from? So if you're a designer and you want to get into video, there's a good chance you probably need to migrate from static design over to motion design. So that would be After Effects. That would be the right product to start wrapping your head around. Now, all right, I'm going to change it up a little because it's contextual to what's happening live here. So what I'm going to do is I will show the shortcut of how to get into this when you're in the products. So if you go to the help menu and you hit F1, you'll go to that page's the page for that product, the function 1 key. That will take you to that product's help page. But if you want to learn online tutorials, there's a deliberate function for that too. There's also in-app tutorials. So if I click this one, it actually gives me here some get started, like After Effects overview and then the basics. And it actually provides you with the assets on how to get started, navigate what it is inside the product, how to have something that's already put together for you to then start to see how things work. This is a really cool and underutilized way to learn in the product. And Premiere's got one as well, and Audition, and that's a really cool way to do it. But yeah, if you go to the product help page, you'll find all the links to like learning new stuff there as well.
Awesome, great advice. So Premiere, what are you going to show me here?
All right, so in Premiere, this is the new beta version, so the latest beta drop, and it does have the new user interface, or the new user experience that we like to call this, where there's a few more things going on up here. You'll probably notice that the name of the project is actually at the top where it always was, but that's the name of the project across the top here. What normally was there was the different user interface layouts, like the workspaces. They're now tucked away over here. And so that's a slightly different thing, and we want to get people's feedback. So if I move over to this little bubble, this is how you can report bugs or request features, and you visit the community, and there's a whole bunch of people, and this is how you access that communication between the product teams and the engineers, and then the community of people that are providing that feedback as well. And that's a global community. Everyone can jump in there and you all have a say, and you can vote up features as well. And you can help with finding out how to make sure that a bug is captured in the right way, like what it is that you're doing in order to make that bug show up. So that's really helpful.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that. I think that's really important because, we spoke with a few of the engineers yesterday in our session, JB, and they also said, provide us feedback. We are in it all the time. The product manager, Francis Crossman, he's actively answering questions in there. So any ideas, any thoughts, feedback, whatever it may be, go in there and provide that feedback.
Yeah. So when you're in this, there's a beaker, and inside that beaker, you can click on it, and it's popped up on my other screen here. But in here, you can vote, and like you can say, oh yeah, this new feature here is not ready, or it's ready, and I got some notes. So there's little things like that they try to do. Again, just getting that feedback. And if you want to see what new changes are in the product, you got a real hot list here in all the changes to see what it is, with lots of detail, and it's very exposed as far as like, hey, here's all the things we're working on. So if you want to know what's coming in the next update, then play around in the beta. You can have it installed side by side. It's not going to interfere with your current projects, and because they're technically the same release build, you can open a project you're working on in 2022 and then open it in the beta and then test something and then go back to the release version of 2022, and it will still open and continue to do the work and finish off your workload. So it's really cool to be able to test that stuff out. Now, some of the things I want you to test are this thing here, which is, let's take a look at this. Really sort of, it's pretty messy. Like there's a lot of clips here in this sequence that are like turned off. And I got to do a handover. I've got to hand this over for a final grade or mix or whatever. I just want this like cleaned up. There's lots of empty tracks and things there too. So if I go into sequence, I can use simplify sequence. And this feature, even though it's in the beta, it's actually been released in the 22 version of Premiere Pro as well. This particular feature is in the latest release. So I can tick a few boxes and say, you know what, disable clips, get rid of them. Disabled or muted tracks, there's a couple of muted audio tracks that get rid of them as well. Clean up transitions, whatever, through cuts, offline clips. Just really tidy this up. And if you've got any multicams, just flatten them out too. Really handy for feature work or long form work where you're using multicam and you need to hand that over for final grade. So hit simplify and boom, it's made a brand new sequence. And if I make that full screen, you can see the difference, like that versus this.
It's just a lot cleaner. Yeah,
and it's like, it's kind of compressed down where the clips were, and it's made like one clean cut track for the vision, which was sort of spread out across like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different tracks.
So I got a question for you, right? You may not have had a chance to test this yet, but would that work with nested sequences?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it treats clips as clips, and so a nested sequence, it brings that in as though it's a clip.
Awesome. Okay, all right, we've got a couple of questions. All right, I like this one from Johanna. What would be a dream feature that you'd like to see come to video?
Ooh, a dream feature. I tell you what, I've got captions open here, and if you transcribe the sequence, you get a lot of really rich sort of information where you click on the word and then you can jump to that in the timeline. I think it would be super cool if you could edit the transcription and that somehow help the editing process. Kind of like Word document editing, where you go, I don't want that bit. And so you like cut that out or delete it, and it like changes that in the timeline. That would be pretty cool.
So almost like having like a Word document sitting inside of your Premiere Pro project, and then you can just make the edits.
Yeah, but this panel here where you've got the transcript, so I don't have one in here, but that would be it. And so, yeah, you would kind of think editing like you're cutting together or even rearranging like the words on as words. But then it actually shows up then in the timeline that those changes you made a text that changes the content in the sequence. That would be so cool.
Wow. All
right, well, I'll get onto it. I'll talk to the guys. We'll see. The guys and gals. And everybody that's there. All right. Well, I think that would be pretty cool. What do you think?
Right. Vote. Yeah, I reckon that would be amazing. Question from
that's cool.
Question from Jason. When getting live feedback on your edits, what's the worst thing someone could say?
What's the worst thing that someone could say? there's a context, okay? So if we have spent a lot of time deliberating on a cut, so there's a sequence of like edits and you go, right, we want this shot in this order, and then there's like, no, rearrange it, change it, and then you spend more time on making these adjustments than you did to like get the cut pretty much to the fine cut, like the end. And then by the end of it, they go, you know what? I think it was the best when we started analyzing the cut. And it's like, great. I spent more time refining it based on what you wanted. And then now you say, no, the original that you said, that was the best. That's probably one of the most frustrating scenarios, but that's the life, right? And if you're freelance, you charge their hours.
Awesome. Okay,
I've
so
got a couple more things here to show.
Yeah, you go.
Can I show?
We've got a couple minutes. Yeah, we've got a couple minutes to go. So,
all right, sweet.
What do you got for us?
So this is in the beta. I really want you to test this one. This is really cool. So Remix. If you've used Audition, you might be already familiar with Remix as a function. So you can take an audio music track, right? And then it does an analysis. So I've got a music track in here and you can see it's really long compared to my edit. So the vision up here is not that long. And now in the Essential Sound panel, when you tick duration, you can also ask it to do this analysis for Remix. And when it finishes doing the analysis, you can then set it to whatever length you want. And I've already told it before, so I've remembered my last setting. So let's zoom in on this now. And I'll make this really, really high. Come on, you clickety clack. There. Okay, so let's zoom in a bit more. See where there's these jaggy lines? These jaggy lines are actually edit points where the machine learning, Adobe Sensei, has analyzed and says, you know what? Through the track, I'm going to have the beginning absolutely start at the beginning. So it sounds like the start of the track, the way it was made, and it ends exactly the way that track was made. Now, in between, it's figured out how to make it sound continuous without you having to do that yourself. So it has the beginning, the middle, and the end, and it all sounds like that was the way the track was made. Do you want to hear what that sounds like at these different cut points?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, so there's a few bunched together. We'll see if it sounds seamless. All right, ready? Oh, you know what's fun? I've got to mute my mic. That's what I need to do.
All right, so what I love about that, and I'm just as you come off mute, is the fact that you can have this long piece of audio and then using machine learning, it will just basically cut it down and merge clips together.
Yeah, it's really cool. So another thing I'll show you, that we get a new tool in the toolbox, the Remix tool.
Remix tool.
So what that allows you to do is actually grab the endpoint and then just shrink it and make it as short as you want.
Amazing.
Or make it as long as you want. So I could make this actually really, really long. And let me grab that endpoint. Come on. Oh, I've gone in too tight. There we go. Grab that and just make it super, super long.
Awesome.
And look, it's done that jaggy thing to like make the original track like twice as long or 3 times as long as it actually was.
That's
cool.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much, JB. It's great talking to you. Hopefully we'll get to see some more updates as they come through. And just want to say to everyone, thank you for joining and hope you have a good rest of Max. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.